the developments in Dominica as the case is now stuck in the courts. But what next in the Mehul Choksi case? We have the Dominican opposition leader, Mr. Lawrence Linton, joining us on this broadcast. Mr. Linton, good morning from India. Good evening there in Dominica. You've called it a scandal. Morning. You've called it a scandal, Mr. Linton. Why is it a scandal? The entire Choksi episode.
It is a scandal because Dominica has no business in this matter. Dominica is embroiled, has been embroiled in something that is essentially between India and Mehul Choksi and Antigua and Barbuda, where Mehul Choksi took citizenship by investment. He's a citizen by investment in Antigua, not Dominica. And our concern down here is that it's a month now since he was kidnapped and brought into Dominica against his will, and has been here in the court system fighting an illegal entry charge, and also there's a matter of habeas corpus and some constitutional matter that he has placed before the court. We are saying there's a very simple solution to this from the Dominica point of view, which is in line and in sync with the rule of international law. And that is the prosecutors of Mehul Choksi in Dominica on the charge of illegal entry ought to sign with him. Both of them need to sign a consent order that he goes back to Antigua, where extradition proceedings have already commenced against him. And he has been living for the past 3 years as a citizen by investment. It makes a mockery of the rule of law in our part of the world, where we, Antigua and Dominica, are under the jurisdiction of the very same Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. And while a matter is in the court involving Mehul Choksi's extradition, he can be abducted from Antigua, moved to Dominica, because it appears somebody would like to short-circuit the extradition process. It is contrary to the expectations of the rule of international law, and we would like our country to be taken out of this scandal in which it has chosen to embroil itself through a backdoor entry. Dominica has made a backdoor entry into this matter by condoning, collaborating, and forced removal from one part of the jurisdiction of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court to the next, because it is under the influence of some other power to have the extradition process short-circuited. That's the concern we have. And we feel there is a very easy way to resolve this. We have come now to a whole month since Mehul Choksi has been here. And tomorrow, by the way, will be a whole month since the Minister of National Security in Dominica declared Mehul Choksi a prohibited immigrant. He arrived by boat on the 24th. Mm-hmm. He is handed over by his kidnapper to the police authority on a Coast Guard vessel. The Coast Guard vessel brings him to land, and he's received on land in Dominica by senior members of the Dominica police force, who advise him that he's going to be sent back to India. The following day, the Minister of National Security issues a prohibited immigrant order against him. But 3 days after that, the head of immigration in Dominica is claiming they were only able to confirm the identity of Mehul Choksi on the 28th of May, 3 days after the minister issued the order of prohibited immigrant against him. It was 3 days after that they were able to confirm Mehul Choksi's identity, because they had seen on that day his Antigua's driver's license. That alone tells you that something is horribly wrong, because even the Ministry of National Security, after the declaration of prohibited immigrants by the minister, the very same Ministry of National Security, 2 days after that, on the 27th, issued a statement saying they were in consultation and contact with the Antiguan police authorities. And once they could confirm his Antiguan citizenship, they were going to return him to repatriate him to Antigua. It sounds like a police authority in Dominica and government officials who are embroiled in something that they don't even understand what they're doing, and it is time to end it. This man has no business in Dominica. He's a citizen of Antigua and Barbuda by investment. That was his choice. That is where he's been living. That is where he was kidnapped from and forced to come to Dominica. Dominica should send him back to Antigua and let the matter continue in the jurisdiction of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. Let due process take its course.
Okay. Now, you seem to be convinced that it was a case of kidnapping. Why do you believe the Dominican government was colluding with whoever you believe they colluded with?
Mehul Choksi was brought to Dominica on a vessel, the Calliope Arn. No other passenger or crew member on that boat was held by the Dominican authorities and charged with illegal entry. If Mehul Choksi, who was forced on that boat and brought to Dominica, was an illegal entrant to Dominica, what happened to the other people who brought him? None of them were asked questions, none of them were charged. They were allowed to come, the two passengers of Indian descent were allowed to come into Dominica, whereas 1 month before, they were refused entry to Dominica because the regional intelligence system, the Joint Regional Communications Center in Barbados, had issued an alert.
Okay. Now, what do you make of the Dominican government stand on the matter? What do you make, Mr. Linton, of the Dominican government stand on the matter in court? They wanted the matter to be struck down at the beginning of the month.
Struck down meaning what?
Wasn't that the stand of the Dominican government, that they wanted Mehul Choksi's petition struck down in the courts of law?
I'm not entirely clear what the position of the government is, except that I know the police authority is prosecuting Mehul Choksi for illegal entry. That matter is a matter that's now before the court. In the meantime, his lawyers have filed a petition for habeas corpus, which is also before the court. And now I'm hearing that there are other constitutional motions that have been filed, et cetera, et cetera. So it looks like we're into an increasingly complicated and long-running legal battle here in Dominica, when essentially the man is a citizen of Antigua next door, citizen by investment of Antigua, 30 minutes up the road, where he's been taken out of that area of the jurisdiction to come to fight a new battle in Dominica. How does that make sense?
Now, you mentioned something. You said he's a citizen by investment in Antigua, which he may have been, even though we saw some letters of the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda saying that he's against the citizenship matter and he wants it to be reviewed once again. There were some letters that were accessed, and in India the agencies are also saying that he never gave up his Indian citizenship, right? The paperwork was never complete because he left India in a hurry. He ran from our agencies. Now, this entire route that was taken, right, on the Choksi legal matter, the investment in the Caribbean islands, do you think this route has been abused by fugitives, criminals like Mehul Choksi?
We are aware in these islands that people from other parts of the world purchase citizenship in these islands in order to evade the law. We have had examples of that in Dominica, and examples of people using our diplomatic passport, no less, in violation and in breach of the 1961 Vienna Convention, United Nations Vienna Convention on International Relations. And it is because of that we are so adamant that this matter is an Antigua and India matter, which does not involve Dominica. And Dominica seem to have volunteered itself via the back door to get involved in this matter where it really does not belong. And the conduct of the police officers, the conduct of ministers of government in this matter, clearly indicate that they are involved in some way, shape, or form with the kidnapping of Mehul Choksi in Antigua. Otherwise, the people who brought Mehul Choksi to Dominica would be answering the same questions that Mehul Choksi has been asked to answer by way of being declared a prohibited immigrant or by way of the charge of illegal entry, which he's now fighting in the courts. Why is it that none of the other people on that same boat were declared illegal immigrants or face any charges of illegal entry into Dominica when they in fact entered Dominica? Why is that? It is only because the people who brought Mehul Choksi to Dominica were in collaboration with the government and the police authority in Dominica for him to be brought there. Therefore, they came. The Dominica government considered that they had done their job. Their job was to bring Mehul Choksi to them, and therefore they could go about their business while Mehul Choksi remains in police detention in Dominica. It doesn't make any sense.
Now, Mr. Linton, in the course of our reporting on the story, when we were reporting, and we have 3 reporters in Dominica who are reporting on the story constantly, and one of the things we saw there was the presence of a large legal team, of course, that has been flown in also to work for Mr. Mehul Choksi. Now, and we saw his brother there as well. Now, has anybody from his family or the legal team tried to contact you in this matter?
If what?
Has anybody from Mr. Choksi's legal team or his family tried to contact you in the last 1 month?
In the last month, I have spoken to lawyers who are representing Mehul Choksi in Dominica. These lawyers are known to me. They didn't suddenly arrive in Dominica because Mehul Choksi was abducted or kidnapped in Antigua and brought down here. The gentleman who is representing Mehul Choksi in Antigua, one of them, Queen's Counsel Justin Simon, is a very good friend of mine for many years. He's originally from Dominica. Our families know each other. Because I live in Dominica, because I'm a Dominican, I know some of the lawyers involved in this matter. And yes, I have spoken to some of those lawyers in the last month of this matter. They, of course, are constrained with some of the things that they can say to me because this particular matter of the habeas corpus is under gag order by the judge, and that is respected. But yes, I do know some of the lawyers involved in the Mehul Choksi matter. And I hope you would expect me to know, being a parliamentarian in Dominica, a very small country of over 70,000 people, you would expect I know lawyers here who represent Mehul Choksi.
And what about the family? Did anybody try to contact you in that sense?
No, but I think it's time that I make contact with some member of the family, because as a politician in Dominica, as somebody who sits in the parliament as a leader of the opposition, I think it will be good, because this matter is dragging on and on and on. I would like to hear exactly from the family what is going on, what is really happening from their point of view, because this has become an international matter now involving the governments and people of our countries. And I continue to insist, we really have no business in this. We should get out of it. We should get out of it.
Now, there was a development in India yesterday, 22,585 crore, which is over $2.5 billion US dollars, and out of which 80% of that has been attached of 3 fugitives: Mehul Choksi, his partner in crime Nirav Modi, and Vijay Mallya, who's, by the way, also going to be extradited to India soon. Now, as a politician, right, what do you make of such cases? Because they owe large amounts of money that they stole from banks, right? And they are wanted in India. And they cheated the system here. They cheated the country. They cheated banks. They cheated the government. They cheated the people, and they ran away. Now, our initiative and efforts will only be to get them back and make them face justice.
All right. So understand me clearly. this gentleman has been accused of doing that the Indian authorities believe he must be prosecuted for. That's not for us in Dominica to decide. We have our own legal issues to deal with here. We have a situation where billions of dollars from the sale of our passports are being held, we believe, unlawfully in overseas banks and so on. We will deal with that. Similarly, if the Indian government is claiming, or Indian authorities are claiming, that there's somebody there, or there's some people there who have defrauded banks, who have been involved in criminal conspiracy, who have been involved in criminal breach of trust, and so on, that is for them to deal with. You're asking me to get involved in the internal affairs of India when we believe as a principle, in terms of our civility around the world and our behavior under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that we should leave countries to handle their internal affairs. Now, this matter of the internal affairs of India, insofar as it concerns Mehul Choksi, now branches off to the Caribbean because Mehul Choksi, as an Indian-born citizen, was able to purchase citizenship by investment in Antigua and to relocate himself there and make a life there. So he is wanted for whatever reason in India, and the Indian authorities have made them move. There is actually, as I said earlier, as we understand it, an extradition proceeding. The proceedings to extradite him back to India, which is consistent with the rule of law in these countries and in India, I'm sure. And then while that is happening, he gets kidnapped and he's brought to Dominica. And that part of it concerns me, and it concerns the parliamentary opposition, because when we examine the way in which it was done, we see the government's collaboration and collusion, which gives them the image of making a backdoor entry into this matter where we really do not belong. So the matters between Mehul Choksi and India that have caused India to accuse him of this and that and that and that, that is between Mehul Choksi and India. The matter of his extradition to India to face charges on these counts at Antigua, we have really no business in this, and we should stay out of it. The way we get out of it now, having unnecessarily embroiled ourselves in it for a month, is by having the prosecutors of Mehul Choksi in Dominica go to court and sign with him a consent order that he returns to Antigua and let due process, which has already commenced there, take its course in the Antigua jurisdiction.
What do the people of Dominica want in this case?
What was that?
What do the people of Dominica want in this case? We saw a few protests, for example, a few weeks back when the court hearing was on. What do the people want?
From what I'm hearing, the majority of people would like the gentleman returned to Antigua, from what I'm hearing. On radio talk shows, what I'm hearing on the ground, it seems that the popular sentiment is, this is not, as the Prime Minister of Antigua has said, this is not Dominica's problem. The Prime Minister of Antigua said it is now Dominica's problem. We're saying no, it is not Dominica's problem. This is between Antigua and India, and the extradition proceeding has already commenced against Mehul Choksi in Antigua.
Okay. Thank you for speaking to Republic TV, Mr. Lennox. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Be in touch.